What's up, comic book readers? Thank you for joining us for episode 28 of the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. If you're joining us live right now, thank you for participating in this episode. And if you are new here and you're wondering who we all are, we are a book club for people who like to read comics. Every week we take a different story arc or a collected volume that we all read along together, and then we gather via these live streams on a Wednesday on YouTube and Facebook to discuss, share our thoughts and views, and we will ask you for your review scores at the end of this as well. So there is some participation for you to join in with. Whew. Every week I try and make and do that faster and faster and faster.
You should really record that.
Yeah, I know. I should get around to do that, shouldn't I? Just save myself a job. Right, this week, folks, we are reading Monstress, Volume 1 from 2016. This collects issues 1 to 6, which the single issues I think were originally started in 2015. So this is the first volume that collects issues 1 to 6. I think there are 5 volumes currently, with a 6th one on the way in September this year. And there's also one hardback collected edition that collects issues 1 to 18. This was written by Marjorie Liu, and the art is by Sana Takeda, I want to say.
Then you say it. That's what you want to say, you say it.
You do you.
Is that right? I always come out of that screen going, did I say that right? Like, as always, folks, you can see I am joined by my co-hosts, and we have Carl with us this week. Carl, you chose this book last week, didn't you, mate? You won the pick.
I did. I rarely win anything, so I was just like, yes, I won. And then everything else was just like, I now need to reread it to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, mate, to have the discussion about Monstress. Also joining us, we have Phil from the YouTube channel Phil's Nerdyverse.
Hey, everyone.
We have Shane from the YouTube channel Dawn of Comics.
Hoy hoy.
And we have Scott from the YouTube channel Scott Shelf.
Shamai, everyone. How you doing?
Shamai to you as well, mate. How are we all?
Good.
I'm good, thank you. Dean, you're looking very dapper today. Very handsome.
Very Piggy Blinders.
Ooh. I see a couple of haircuts as well. Who's had their hair cut?
Oh, yeah. It feels so good as well. I'm not even going to lie. Okay, then, folks, that's introductions done. As always, we'll kick off with a synopsis, and we usually ask the person who chose the book to do the synopsis. So, Carl, do you want to tell people a little bit what Monstress Volume 1 is about?
So it's based in a fantasy world. It's kind of a fantasy horror. It's got a lot of tags that I can probably attach to it, but it's based on a world that Liu and Takeda came up with, where there's the humans who live on one side of a wall, and there are what are called arcanics, which are part human, part animal, hybrid sort of things. And the first volume is following one of the individual, main character, introducing some of the support characters, because this, I think the main aim is to build quite a vast landscape for a story. And it's following their adventures is probably, without giving too much away to get into things, following their adventures through that realm and the conflicts that arise therein.
There you go, folks. Good synopsis. That about nails it. Before we start off, and I think, Shane, you can kick us off this week. But before we do that, let's meet everyone that is joining us and participating for episode 28. So hello to Tom from This Month in Movie, saying, evening all, hope you are well. We have Tyler, TB Collects, the best hour on YouTube. What's up, everyone? That's too bad. Thank you very much.
That's the new tagline.
Yeah. Phil, we got your brother, Subshock. I feel sorry for comic book collectors. They have so many issues. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Phil answered his brother there as well. Oh my God, terrible dad joke. We have Amy saying, hello, everyone. We have Adam, Comic Bound here, saying, all right. We got Liam here as well, Welsh Liam.
Wow. Welsh Liam.
And we have COMICSverse in the World joining us as well. He's saying, I've only managed to read 2.5 issues so far, so I'm going to spend the next hour reading and then check out the replay tomorrow. That's the way to do it, my friend.
The next hour. You won't be finished by then. Don't worry. Catch the replay tomorrow.
We have Sean the Noob joining us as well. Howdy to you, mate. We've got Adam and Caroline joining us saying, hey, guys. I don't know how you pronounce this. Hi, all. I'm new. My mate Adam invited me. How do we pronounce that?
Echidna.
Echidna.
There you go. Welcome to you, my friend. Thanks for joining us. We have Bethany joining us as well. Hey, Beth. I've not missed her again. I'm glad I've caught her this time. We also have the chat is jumping down on me as well. We've got Slim in here as well. How you doing, Sean? And we've got Daryl as well sneaking in there at the bottom of the comments. Scott, you are the official comic book, the official comment checker. Have I missed anyone?
Yes, Sith Lordly.
Sith Lordly. Sorry, Sith. Greetings from Southern California, Sith Lordly.
Nice.
How you doing, mate? And I can see we've got Stormcore Collectibles in here as well. Hopefully that's everybody. If I have missed you, I do apologize. Just send me a really offensive message on Instagram. It's all good. All right then, Shane, do you want to start us off, mate?
With the art, as always.
Yeah, why not?
What's not to like? It's gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I was shocked. The covers are lovely. I'm not going to lie. The cover was nice and draws you in. But when you get inside, it's even more beautiful than the cover portrays. I absolutely loved it from start to finish. The faces, the backgrounds, the colors, the character designs, the clothing. Oh my God, the detail on the clothing, the masks, the weapons. I mean, this is what I imagine like Dungeons and Dragons, the world would look like, as in the style of all the characters and the weapons and the magic. And yeah, the art was flawless. I couldn't find anything, and I did check. I did look through it a few times to find something to neg about, and I couldn't neg about anything when I started reading.
Wow, Scott, if you've got a mop, can you just clean up down there from all the gushing, please?
It was the way it was done. It's like there were beautiful shadings and there were beautiful shadows, and even the animal, the cat, with even the cat was drawn so well, and the facial expressions, and I was in awe as I was looking through this book.
You say that you think of like Dungeons and Dragons style of art. For me, it was more like like the Final Fantasy games.
Yeah,
that's all I could like see and feel with those. Like, but yeah, I loved it through and through. Like it had like a lot of like manga, anime style touches and things, but
not
for
too
a comic,
heavy-handed.
Yeah, it was great.
Let's just have a look what people are saying, because some of the comments are starting to roll in about the art. Tom is saying the art style throughout this volume is amazing. Issue 6 cover alone is beautiful. It says Tom. And Adam is saying art was incredible. Everything was so ornate. That's the word, isn't it? Ornate.
Yeah.
Very much. We've got Shane, your brother's in. Boo, Final Fantasy, boo.
I agree, 100%. Boo.
Hey, what's wrong with Final Fantasy?
Everything.
And before we get into that conversation, Tyler is saying, completely agree with Shane. I wasn't expecting the art to be so amazing.
I've never seen the score. I've never seen the.
So we've already got a score here.
Already, that's cheating. That's cheating.
Phil, what was you going to say, mate?
I was just going to say, I've never seen characters in a book drawn just really lovely. Like, just like, all like, they were mainly ladies, of course, but they were just all looking really beautiful. Like, I was just like, how do you draw that? Incredible.
Yeah. When you said you got vibes from like Final Fantasy, I got like board game vibes from this, like fantasy board game, like the artwork you usually find on that. Like I got that kind of vibe from it.
So I can see both. I can see both in that sense. There is definitely a fantasy board word, but I think I saw a lot of the manga anime where Final Fantasy draws its influences from. I saw a lot of that as well. And looking at some of the other artwork that Takeda has done, it fits in with that sort of realm as well. So I see both sides, but I think I'm leaning towards you, Scott.
Thanks, mate. Yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree. You can definitely feel the kind of manga. It's not quite manga as in style, but you can definitely see it's heavily influenced by that and a pinch of fantasy as well, I think. And then you get this kind of like Adam said, ornate style. Everything is very, very like, and Shane said, the costumes, everything's like beautifully laid out and detailed and stuff. For me, I will say, to the point where it made me a little bit sick. When you eat too much and you just kind of like, you know what I mean?
Too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Too rich.
You wanted some messy pages thrown in there.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining here, but there were points where I was like, please just give me a blank background, please. There's just too much to look at.
That was gorgeous. It was just a treat for the eyes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's vivid, but I've always found it's muted but vivid at the same time. So it's a lot of the autumnal colours which give it that oppressive feel.
Yeah, I think.
But then you've got brights of golds and stuff which are still autumnal, but take your eye away from being really ornate.
This is an assumption, but I think they weren't in a rush to get these books out. You know what I mean? They took their time. Yeah. And they just, they spent all the time they needed to get the art nailed, to write the story, and it just, you could tell, like. Well,
I think this had been brewing for a while. I think I know I read in the version I had that the idea had been there for a while, and I think it was when the writer and the artist finally met each other, a lot of this stuff then started to kind of the hows and how they were going to do it and stuff started to kind of pile out on the page. TB saying a very princess. I can never say that word.
Mononoke.
Thank you. Cheers. And Caroline is saying as well. That's what she thinks as well. A bit headachy after a while with the, I guess, with the detail and stuff.
No, I was all right. I was
okay. I was very okay with it. I was just.
We know you were. Scott's not turning up, don't we?
I suppose it probably helps, depends on how quickly you read it. If you did it all in one go in an hour, or if you spent like half an hour or so on each few issues on it.
And I will say, like, it's not a criticism. It's not something I'm kind of like, it broke the book or anything. Like, how can great art be a negative? Like, it's not a negative. I just find, for me personally, it was like. It was a lot to digest, because the story was kind of, before we move on to that, like, it was a bit heavy as well, wasn't it? This isn't a light read, I would say. Yeah. But so before we move on to that story, let's get to the panels. Shane, seeing as you were going all over the art, do you wanna?
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you want to go all over this? But I don't think it's quite appropriate seeing the image that you've chosen, mate. But you can explain.
Oh wow.
Okay, so I picked this for two reasons. One, it made me close the book and I put it down because I didn't want to read it. Then I wasn't in the right mindset. I was getting saga flashbacks from like PTSD. So I was like, I'm not in the mood for titties right now, so I'll read that later. So I put it down. And then when I did pick it up and I finally started reading it and saw the rest of the artwork, I realized how beautiful it was for a first page and how subtle, and it wasn't grotesque or vile for the sake of it. It was very restrained. I mean, if that was Saga, that would be a full body shot, and there would probably be, I don't know, some television screens and like 8 extra legs coming out of her. But so, as much
Shane, as personally for me, that's what I thought it was missing. But
so yeah, I got two different senses from it, because as soon as I saw it and I wasn't in the mood for that, put it down. But when I came back to it, I was fine with it the second time around.
Before we move on, I will just say as well, when I was reading this, I did, because there's a few moments, isn't there, where there was a little bit of crudeness in there, and I did wonder how you were going to feel about that after the saga thing. I was like, is Shane gonna be all right with that, or is he gonna be like,
Yeah, I was dreading it. I did think, if the rest of the book is like this, then I'm not going to have any fun whatsoever, no matter how pretty the art is. But no, it was just the giant booby ladies fighting. That was fine.
You've had a warning here as well, everybody. Amy saying, "Oi, don't go dissing Saga again."
Again.
You've been told, man. All right, let's move on then to the next panel. Phil, do you want to go and do yours, mate?
Yeah, it's just like I struggle. Like similar to last week with Spider-Woman, I struggled to find one particular thing to stand out because it was all fantastic. Like there wasn't like it's all consistently good. There was not a flaw in the art one bit. So to find something standout-ish, but I just like this. I don't even know why. I think it's because it's very atmospheric almost. Like it kind of highlights the brutality of the fact that like these kind of, I say they're kids, but they're obviously like animals. I don't know what if they're kids in their species or whatever. But and this kind of mean, cruel old little bitch of a security guard who was the ugliest person in the book, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
She reminded me of Miss Trunchbull from
Matilda.
Yes.
So I just think they highlight the kind of grotesque and highlight the kind of brutality that these kind of arcanics would go through, and the fact that the little boy is getting dragged by the throat and the chain, and it was just very kind of dark, and like I say, it kind of highlights the kind of brutality that they go through, and how humans and witch nuns or whatever were holding them, or a bunch of a-holes.
Yeah, that prison guard, man, was pretty grotesque as well, wasn't she?
It was a fantastic death, though.
Yeah, wasn't it? That panel was absolutely stunning.
That was my second pick.
Just beautifully done. Just the way she's melding through the bars as she's being crushed by them.
Can I just point something out here as well? I think we're going to have to go back to your picture here, Shane, as well, because I've missed the comment and it's worth pointing out. Sean says, look at that, reminds me of Claudia Winkleman.
Oh my God. It does. She's got the lazy eye. It does. Yeah. And the fringe. Oh my God.
I'm not going to be able to stop seeing Claudia Winkleman now.
There you go. If there's ever any casting issues, you know the phone now. So if you're watching this, you know.
Cast a middle-aged woman to play a 17-year-old. Yeah, that's cool.
Hey, it worked for Greece, man. You know, like it'll be fine. Okay, Carl, do you want to talk through your page next?
Yeah, so it's probably linking to Phil's in that it to me it shows some of the brutality that happens and is going to happen throughout the book, but it shows it from the other side, what the main character is going to actually have to do. But it's not just the brutality. You can see it's the remorse. So there's innocence as well as the brutality, kind of mixed into one. And some of I don't know if people can read the comments, but some of the comments that she's talking about in these panels, it's brutal, for want of a better way. It's absolutely brutal.
I love the way the blood all splattered as well, like over the panels, like the blood splattered. Great.
And it's not. I wouldn't be mistaken. Like, even though the art looks quite lovely, I think this is a good page to pick because there's a lot of brutality in this as well.
So much.
Yeah.
And it's not, as I said, it's not just. Although at the beginning it's kind of the human side of it, but you can see it's not just the human side of it. There's other things that are going on that are also just as bad.
Totally. Yeah. Scott, do you want to move on to yours, mate?
Yeah.
There you go.
That was my second pick.
This page was so cool. So what was this called? The Court of
the Dust Court.
Dust Court.
Yes. And I absolutely love this page because for me, it's like they took all this time to create all these different characters. And for me, I feel like we're going to see this court further on in the story. And I'm just looking at all of these characters, just wondering what they can do, what they're capable of, how they use their weapons, how they are, like personality wise. And for me to think of all of those things, all of these questions, just by looking at one massive, splash page of all these fantastic looking characters, I thought was fantastic.
But half of them are dead now because she killed them off screen.
Yeah, but that's okay. The other characters.
Spoilers! No, I'm joking. We don't care about spoilers on this. Everyone should have read it anyway. It's your own fault if you watch it.
I was a bit glad you didn't see the fight.
Yeah. But
there was that whole before we move on to that writing there was that huge moment there, wasn't there, where there's that battle and you don't really see a lot of it.
You don't see any of it. It just flashes her in the sarcophagus, and you're like, "What?"
Okay, before we move on to the writing, I want to do some comments. But before we do that, I'll do my last page. I picked this one.
Oh,
You just wait to break our hearts, Dean.
I picked this purely because I weren't sure whether we were going to kind of like anyone was going to pick something that reflected the brutality in this. And I think we did get an even mix there between us. But like, this is a story about like, you know, oppression and persecution and war and stuff. That is at the core of this story. And like Shane says there, like you get to that. I think this is this like the first page in issue 4? I think this is where this is from.
Yeah.
And that kind of backstory there where you see the midst of the war, because where we're reading, it's kind of in the middle of a peace treaty, isn't it? They're kind of, the war is paused at the moment. And you get that flashback and see the brutality there. I mean, and these are children and stuff. So, but the way that is drawn, like the rain and the light behind and stuff, that's an incredible piece of art, man.
It's amazing.
There we go. That's what I picked for my favorite page. And just to check the comments here as well, let's see what we got going on in here. We've got TB Collects, Tyler saying, this book had amazing atmosphere. I love the steampunk wasn't overdone. It was weaved into the fantasy elements. Sometimes the steampunk thing gets tiresome when it's overused. I agree with that. Yeah. It wasn't like too heavy in this at all, was it?
No.
And Tom's agreeing with you, Scott.
Oh, great.
That was his favorite page as well, the one you picked.
Yeah,
there you go. And Shane, your brother, is asking Tottenham Gaming, is that a freaking cat with a freaking eye patch on its freaking face? Yes. To all of the above. And Liam saying that's a great page. Fantastic that each character is detailed and not blurred or blended into the background. I agree. Everything pops as well. And for so many people on that page, the one that you chose, Scott, each one just kind of pops. There's no blurring in. Adam saying. So Adam's saying the sarcophagus bit, I was expecting Indiana Jones to crawl out of there.
Well, they did kind of do that, didn't they? The winged guy is in the sarcophagus when the place explodes, and he survives in that. It's kind of reminiscent of Indiana Jones. I was thinking that when he pops out and he's like, "Oh, we survived." I was like, "That's convenient."
All right then, folks. Let's move on to the writing. I think we've established that we all thought the art was absolutely exquisite. I think would be the word for this. Absolutely beautiful.
And that's the end of the show, folks. Bye.
Bye.
Exquisite out of 10.
Exquisite, yeah. Exquisite out of 10. That's a new score. All right, so what do we make of the writing then? I think as I touched on, this isn't a light read. Let's just say that. This is quite heavy. There's a lot to wrap your head around. And I'll just start us off by saying, like, the world building in this is humongous. And I don't think this is something you kind of like read lightly.
The world building was very not handled well.
What?
It was very.
Tell me more.
The world was built through exposition. Literally, everyone just tells you everything about everything. Every conversation is just exposition. It's like, can you not just have a conversation as if you know the person you're talking to? Just assume the person you're talking to knows what has happened in the world. I know as a reader, I don't know what's happened in the world, but when there are two characters having a conversation about what's happened in the world that they both know about, it feels very unnatural and forced.
I kind of agree with you, mate, but purely because I don't really know what's happening in my own world half of the time. So
it was everything from the conversation about her mother to the conversation about the monster in her, the conversation about where she's going, what she's doing. Everything was just exposition. Nothing felt like a natural conversation.
But let's just say, though, I think, hang on, because you guys are going to probably counter this, and I want you to, because I was just going to say, I think if you are a fan of that world-building fantasy kind of thing, you're going to love this, though. So I think me and Shane are kind of saying it was a bit much for us, but I do think there are people that would love this.
Yeah, understandably, but if this this is the middle of a story, so they have to build. They're trying to build this world because they didn't tell us the beginning of the story, but they just tell us through exposition, and it was so much. I was just like, come on now, just move along, move along.
Right, who wants to counter that? Who loved the world building? Anyone?
Me.
Scott?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, like, it's like I like a little bit of hand holding when it comes to a thing like this. Look, it's volume 1, right? It's the first 6 issues. They have to establish something.
Then start at the beginning of the story, not the middle.
Well, I did.
Yeah. But if they start at the beginning of the story, then they don't have the suspense and everything else of the story they have now at all.
Yeah, like I don't want to have like a pre-read. I want to jump straight into the action, and if it requires a bit of hand holding, a bit of explanation through character speech, then so be it. I'm sure it tones down a bit throughout the rest of the story, because the readers are gonna get used to how the world works and all this kind of stuff. There's 6 issues out of what? Like, how many are there so far? Like, how many volumes?
34, I think, at the moment.
Yeah,
single issues.
I feel like it's gonna simmer down. Like, they've got to, like, it's a completely new world, a new universe, a new story. Like, they've got to try and guide something.
That was one of my notes. I've put down on my notes. I've put same problem as Saga Volume 2 is probably better.
Well,
one of my notes.
Tottenham Gaming is saying, I bet you pick easy mode on video games, Scott.
He's not wrong. I just like playing the stories. I don't like the faff of playing hard, dying all the time, and losing the continuity of the story. You know, it's like a superhero film. They're going to win all the time. I might as well play easy mode and win all the time.
I will say, I thought this, like, I didn't at the time, but now you've just said that, like, I think this would make a great concept for a video game, like an RPG.
Yeah. I suppose that's where the Final Fantasy comes in. Yeah, it would.
Be great.
Yeah.
Just check the chat here as well. Caroline is saying it didn't need the bits at the end of each chapter, the cat's talking about the law. I'm going to say I agree with Caroline there. That drove my mint. I was like, why are you telling me this?
Again, because I have read further on.
Go, Carl.
That does come in very useful, because early on it doesn't necessarily specifically refer to what's happening then and there, but it's setting up what will happen and why things happen later on.
But that's really poor world building. It's really poor world building if you have to explain it. If you have to take a page out of your book to just tell me about crap from your world, because you can't be bothered to tell me in the story.
It's still in context. It's in context of the world, though.
I get that it's in context, but it's out of the story. It's just a separate page of, oh, by the way, these are things you need to know to understand the rest of the story coming up. And I personally don't like that. That's a sign of bad writing.
I'm kind of with you, Shane. Like, I don't like the exposition world building, but like I said, I think that there are a lot of people out there, particularly those that like fantasy world building, that would be all over this. And the techniques that she uses with the cats and things like that, I think that those tools that she uses, there are a lot of people that would dig that. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. But I get that it wasn't for you or I on that concept. Like, I wasn't a fan of it either.
So I think a lot of the writing leans into Japanese mythology. So cats and nekos, they are guides and spirit. They work with spirits to give exposition to characters in Japanese stories. So I think that's where at least that part. And again, I'm not saying that all exposition is all good. It's not. I agree on that sense. It needs to be balanced. And if you just read this one on its own, it's like, what the hell's going on? But it does have meaning, and it does get toned down, and it does become a lot more balanced as things are more.
The way the story is written, you can definitely tell they're writing it in a way for it to carry on. They're not writing it to fit into one arc. They're going to fit it all in here, and then we'll make the characters do a completely new story or adventure in the next 6 issues. You can just tell it's going to be one.
Let me just visit the comments here, Scott, because they're stacking up. It seems like a lot of people have got the comments on this exposition. Adam saying, I like the cat's exposition. If you're going to do exposition, then go all in with the exposition. like that in a short little fun way, keep it out of the story. Liam is saying,
that's the thing.
Liam is saying, is it possible to be in the middle of this? Like, yeah, the conversations weren't entirely natural, but with the fantasy D&D vibes I thought it worked really well. Yeah, I kind of, this is what I mean. I think it's going to be one of them on the fence things. I think on that, we're going to have to go, it is for some and it's not for others. Like, on that
definitely.
One. And Perpetual Comics, I see, is in here as well. We've got Andy in here as well. Hello to you, Andy. I've missed you there, mate. Sorry.
Really
Phil,
quiet.
you are very quiet, man.
I don't know what to say about the book, to be honest. I just think there's too much in 6 issues. There's ancients, and there's arcanics, and there's witch nuns, and there's humans, and there's poets, and it's just far too much. And it's like, I don't know. It's hard to say. I did enjoy it, but at the same time, like, it's a lot for 6 issues where these things like can be introduced in the next volume or the one after that. It doesn't all have to be in the first volume. It's just fair, because I'm pretty certain I've missed quite a lot of stuff. Like, just in my first read through, if I read it again, which I'm not going to do, or again after that, I'll probably pick new things every time. And as well as having all these different kind of like factions or whatever, it's like there's just a lot of characters. Like, who was like the main antagonist? Was it the monster? Was it Yvette? Was it the 3 sisters? And like, there's just a lot of kind of things involved. It's hard to know.
I agree with you there, mate. I think that for me, the characters in this got quite convoluted, to the point where sometimes I was reading and I was thinking, who was that again? And I had to kind of go back to kind of remember who it was. And TV saying, I think he's kind of agreeing with you there, Phil. I think the main issue is that there is so much to explain in only 6 issues. The world is huge, and it was very dense in how much it was trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, it even threw something in that made that didn't add anything to the story. With the cat god and the warlord, she didn't show up again. I get that she's going to show up in another volume, obviously, but what was the point of her being in this book? I didn't get the point of that at all.
But this is the thing. I mean, like Tyler's saying there, we are only reading those first 6 issues. So there's obviously stuff that could happen in this that we don't know that happens, that plays more into kind of like issue 30. So we have to bear that in mind. And this does seem like a very, very huge world. So things could be said now that ain't going to be relevant until we look at another slice of that world somewhere, I think.
No, and that's what it's like, a bloated world. There's too much in this book.
It's a world.
No, but we don't know the world yet. But they're trying to tell you too much of the world in 6 issues, whereas they have now 38 issues to expand the world. So you tell us about the part we're in for this story, then you tell us about the part where they go. That's all we need to know. We don't need to know what's happening halfway across the planet.
But then isn't that hand-holding?
No, that's building the story as you go and trusting your audience.
Organically.
I'm going to have to I'm just going to have to interject, and I'm going to have to say I'm really enjoying Shane's journey through this. He's gone from gushing to getting really cheesed up about the world.
Well, as a hypothetical,
atrocious.
As a hypothetical, would you be saying the same if this issue was 10 issues long instead of 6, and it has those things already in there? Then it's all in one book still, but it's been explained within 1 to 10 books.
A more slow, natural progression to the parts we get to, probably. But this 6 issues is far too crammed for what's in here. We've had stories that have gone over 12 issues and has had no story throughout the entire 12 issues, and now we're getting like all this story in just 6 issues, and it's like.
I have to add as well, being a huge Venom fan, it's good to see that Micah had her own symbiote. It's fantastic. Because it is a symbiote. I don't care what anyone says, it's a symbiote.
I'm really surprised that none of you chose one of those panels with the monster in it.
It didn't blow me away. It's cool, but...
and can somebody explain as well, not just for me, but for people who maybe haven't read it, like Cole, you've read on, so you may know more. But like, what actually is that monster thing? Like, is it a monster? Is it a god? No, like, I thought they were being very vague.
Monstrum.
It's vague because Micah doesn't know herself, and part of the journey is her discovering what the hell this thing is, because she has no idea. It is a god. Essentially, it's one of the created gods of their entire world and universe. And it's the husband of the main god, which is the god that all the other ones that all the other people are referencing. But if something happens between them, that means that he gets locked away and she's off doing something else.
Basically, he's like one of the most powerful gods. Yes. Yeah.
But he went into, because of what happened, he went into mourning and hid away and just shut himself off from the world. And it passed down, but through bloodlines, which is where the warlord comes in, because it passed down through their bloodline.
I got that with the bloodline thing. Yeah. Let's move away from the world building now. We'll let Adam and Tom have the last say on it. Adam saying, I'm with Shane on this one. They try and put too much in. It's like they weren't sure how many issues they would get to tell the story. And Tom says, I found they were giving or trying to give too much information that wasn't needed in just the first 6 issues, which felt like reading 10 to 12 issues. There we go. Tom and Adam have the last word on the word building. Let's move on to some other themes in the book, because there are a lot of other themes. Like I said, there's a lot of persecution, and there's a lot of kind of the repercussions of war and stuff like that. Those things. Did we enjoy the themes in this volume?
Yeah, they felt very mature, and they felt well thought of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's heavy. There's again, probably goes, not to bring the world building back up, but it goes into that. There's a lot in terms of themes that are brought into it, and you have to be in the right frame of mind to approach it. If you're not in the right frame of mind, then it's I think the first time, like you guys, I got introduced to this from some guy at Forbidden Planet, and he's just like, read this. I was like, okay. After while I was picking up Lady Thor, and I was like, okay. Lady Thor, just like, this is awesome, and then read this. What the hell is going on?
A good salesman there, then.
Yeah, he got me good.
I mean, it's not a fun read, is it? One panel made me laugh. Like, I didn't have fun reading this, like, in the sense of enjoying the characters. Everything was just too dark and too sad. Like,
yeah, I think Tom's put the warning there, not for kids. I agree. Yeah.
Oh, really?
There was one panel that made me actually laugh out loud. Was when he was in her mind, and he just wanted to go back to sleep, and he's watching her memories, and he's like, maybe I'll just watch some more of these, and that'll send me back to sleep. That did make me laugh, because he was being a right snarky little sod. But the rest of the book was just, very heavy.
I really liked Micah's attitude, though. Like, she told everyone to fuck off, basically, half the time, didn't she? And, like, her wee friends, Keepa.
Yeah.
Like, she was great. Like, the two of them together were good. And even the cat, was it Ren? Was it they called the cat?
Yeah.
I like that wee team. That wee dynamic was nice. I liked it.
Can I ask folks as well, like, are you guys fans of fantasy naturally anyway?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just me really that isn't a fantasy fan. All right.
Yes.
Bye.
Did anyone think for a second that the Baroness wasn't her best friend? Like, was that meant to be a big shock at the end? But I assumed that was her the first time I saw her.
Oh, I was surprised.
I was surprised. Yeah.
I was as well.
So I wasn't.
No.
No.
Oh.
Again, it goes into the themes of war and betrayal. And
we're really split on this one, aren't we? Like, I thought we'd kind of find an agreement on this one. Nope, clearly not.
I really like the idea of this book. I think go on. Good. The idea is really good, just poorly executed.
Okay, all right. Let's just check the comments here. Right? Comic Bandy saying the bit that made me laugh was when Kipper was squish hugging the cat and was trying to wiggle free. Tom saying Kipper the Fox really grew on me as a character. I think, are we all in agreement about that Kipper was actually quite cool?
And I did think, I thought she was going to have 2 companions. I didn't know she was going to eat the other one. The poor little boy with no arms.
Oh, God, that was dark. That got dark quick there, didn't it?
Yeah, I thought he ran away. I didn't know she got him. That was sad.
Yeah. And Coraline is saying, nearing the end of the book, I found the amount of characters overwhelming to follow. I agree with you.
Yep,
Yeah,
I was thinking
that
before,
goes
like,
back to what I was saying there and what Phil said. Yeah.
like who's the main? Like, it's whenever they introduced Yvette, I thought maybe she's gonna be the one that's the big bitch, whatever. But then there's someone else above her, and then someone else above her. I was like, for goodness sake, like who are we kind of focused on as being the kind of main villain or such? Just
what's the problem with there not being a main villain? Like this is like
I was going to say there isn't one.
This is a real world. This is a world like people are bad.
It's based on
like,
wartime. There are in a war zone. There's not one big bad. There's just varying degrees of people doing crappy things.
No, but there's still a leader. There's always a leader on both sides.
Yeah.
So there's the good leader, which we saw was the fox goddess. The dog goddess. Well, according to this book, it made it look, but I haven't read on. But she looked like the good guy, and then we had who was the bad guy? Was it the three-eyed demon woman? Was it the?
I wish we'd have taken a screenshot of that three-eyed demon lady. That freaked me out. Like, you turn the back and you're like, "What is going on here? What the hell happened there?"
I was expecting that. I thought she was going to just look like Miko underneath. I thought that's why they were hiding her face. But then she had 3 eyes. I was like, "What?"
Oh, he's got it here.
Yeah,
he's got it here. Hold on. We're gonna put you on a big screen there, mate. There we go. Look at that. What is that about?
I was surprised.
Freaky.
Yep. Weird. Again, it's yeah. There's as you say, there's a lot of characters, but I think these first set of issues focus mainly on Mike as the main character. I think so. It doesn't really establish who's good, who's bad. It's just says this is where she is. Everything's going to spin out from that afterwards.
I will say though, the three-eyed lady, I like what they did there with her because you find out she's not actually human, is she?
No.
And I liked that. Yeah, because you've got this all of a sudden, you've got the treachery of like double crossing, like, is somebody like a double agent or something like that was making me think, oh, okay, well, we're being told that she's absolutely horrible and bad, but was she trying to do some good, like for the other side? Like that just confused and that intrigued me. That part of it made me maybe want to go on and read book 2. Yeah.
So he said you're allowed to give spoilers or a little bit of spoilers.
Yeah.
So one of the things you find out later is Micah was raised and educated with the humans. So all the humans that seem to know and you don't get to say, oh yeah, they're telling her stuff. It's because she has no memory of it, but it all happened and she was on that side of stuff. Whereas, as he said, there's stuff going on where there are humans on the other side, and
I'll signal Scott.
It gets messy.
Good to go.
Can I just say hello to Simon as well from Friday Night at the Video Store? How you doing, mate?
What a great name, Friday Night at the Video Store.
Yeah. His Instagram's awesome as well. Like, go and check him out on Instagram, folks. He posts some really cool stuff. Like, if you like omnibuses and he does like VHS reviews and stuff. He's got like a videotape collection and stuff. But the production stuff on his Instagram is really cool. All right, folks. I think. Sorry, Phil. Go on, mate.
Just kind of touching on the point that I've already made about the kind of like not really knowing who's like the top bits, but even at the first issue when they had the first witch nun, I forget her name, dark hair girl who got burned in the first fight.
Sophia, was it?
And then her pal, is it Antenna?
Athena. I always get thinking Athena, so that's not Athena.
Yeah, I was reading Athena. My brain was going.
Yeah. So you even find that or whatever you call her, she's like a goodie undercover. It's just like these things don't really play a part in the first arc as such, apart from just unveiling them. Like here's what they are. I'm sure you'll find it down the line, of course, but like for the first volume, you kind of want to include that stuff now. Like maybe make her worse and then maybe reveal that in the second arc. I did like that stuff though, Phil. That goes back to saying how we start off with these cat and then as we got into the volume, things were bubbling to the surface where you were kind of like, oh, well, this character isn't clearly on like that side of the line that I thought that they were on. And the volume ended before we got any progression of that. So that was intriguing, I think, like I said, to make you kind of want to read on a little bit more just to find out where these people actually did sit, Yeah.
I think the only innocent character reading through that I can think that I know is definitely innocent is Kipper. Everybody else is screwed up and done something messed up at some point.
And I think is that the issue you have there, Phil? It's just like there's no clear distinction of good and evil in this. Really, it's just
no, because I do like the fact that like you think you know a character, then wham, you don't type thing. But it's just like there's just that many that's hard to know. Yeah, you're trying to kind of pick who could maybe help or who's on whose side and that kind of thing. But it's, you know, as you mentioned, there's no sides. Everyone just wants a piece of the pie. But Carl, have you read the whole thing? Have you read up to date?
Up to volume 5, not up to date in the singles, but in the trade backs.
Scott, headphones out. Tell me Kippa does not die, because if I kill Kippa, I'm out. I'm done.
No, she's still there in volume 5. She's still alive and kicking. She's the moral. As I say, she's the moral compass.
That's good.
Well, with that said, folks, as I said, volume 6 comes out in September of this year, so Kippa might still. You never know.
If Kippa dies, we riot.
Yeah.
ever the pessimist, huh? Right. Okay. I'm gonna do it then. Glasses are off. Glasses are on. It's that time. We're going to do the final thoughts and the scores. So you know how it works, folks. If you have read along with us this week, drop your score 1 to 10 in the chat. I'll make sure I collect it all, and we will see what everybody thinks when we take an average score. And we will go around and do the same. So as our guest, Carl, and the person that chose the book, do you want to go first, mate? Give us your final thoughts and your score.
Yeah. So for me, it was I loved the book as I recommended it. I loved it. I love the series. It is, as Shane said, I'm not going to push it for a step hide from that. It is a lot to take in and a lot of information to kind of take on board in that first. If you're not reading on, yeah, it's a difficult one, and you need to go into it in a healthy mindset, because some of the topics it brings up they can hit hard and hit wrong if not approached properly. But that being said, as I say, I found the story great. I found the themes that it does bring up, and then some of them hit you in the face, but I appreciated them, because some of them don't tend to see that much in comics. But overall, I think the standout thing is the artwork. I love the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. I don't think there's a bad word I could say in that sense. The story is again probably I can't remember the phrase. It's for the right tastes, if that's a fair way of saying it. It is a great story, but you need to be as I say, in that mindset. So as that being said, I've kind of rated it. I've kind of came into it thinking I'm going to give it a 9 because the art is amazing. But now I'm thinking about the themes and the story. I'll probably mark that alone as a 7, so I'll go in between and say 8.
Okay, there we go. It's an 8 from Carl. Thank you very much, Carl. Over to the money, Phil.
The money. It's like what Carl said. You almost had to be in the right mindset to read this, and not knowing what to expect. I mean, I'm just going to highlight here. I have the trade paperback, and that divide is issue 1. And then the other 5 issues, like, so to not know what to expect and read that issue 1, which is a lot. It's hard to say. I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy the story overall, but it was hard work sometimes. I just don't think it's for me. Maybe I'm not intelligent enough for it. I don't know. But artwork, it's 10 out of 10 for art. Art's fantastic. I've never read a book that looks like that before. But it has. The themes don't bother me, but it has its flaws. In fact, there's too many characters. There's too many kind of little stories within the big story. To be fair, I'm going to give it a 7. I think that's a fair score. I think
it's a 7 from the money. Okay, hang on, because the comments are like flipping out on me, and I'm like trying to make sure I'm getting everyone's scores, man. Shane, over to you, bud.
Art, obviously 10 out of 10. Nothing wrong with the art whatsoever. As for the rest of the book, I really like the story, the idea of the story. I like the idea of the world. I like the idea of the characters, but it's just too bloated. It's a bloated world. It's far too crammed with things that like Carl said, you have to read on to understand. So for me to just pick up this volume and read, it didn't feel like it was designed for that, which is a shame because every volume should be accessible just to pick up and read. The dialogue was absolutely dreadful, just exposition-y for just the sake of exposition. I hated.
Let's not get into that again.
In the book, so I hated the order of the words and the letters. So for me, because I like the idea and I love the art, to be absolutely fair and just take off points for the writing and all that crap, I have to go with Phil and give it a 7.
It's a 7 from Shane. So I'm just so far we've got 7 from Scott, 7 from Shane.
I haven't rated it yet.
Oh, sorry, from Phil. Sorry. Okay, so it's 7s and an 8. All right, Scott, go.
This book was nominated and had won an Eisner Award in 2018, and I think, and I get it, deservedly so. Like, it's a real.
Scott, can I just interrupt you? Like, you really enjoy telling people that this has won an Eisner Award, don't you? Like, I saw your Instagram, Eisner Award. Last week, you were Eisner Award.
In Scott's defense, I had it in my notes as well.
That's worthless as an Oscar. It doesn't mean anything.
Sorry, Scott. Carry on, Scott. Go.
This was a clever, complex story, and you can tell it's going to be big and it's going to be deep. And I think I'm kind of thinking of Volume 1 as a pilot episode, you know what I mean? Like, so it's usually issue 1 is the pilot, and then you carry on with 2, 3, 4, 5. But I feel like Volume 1 is the pilot issue.
Can I just, if that was a pilot issue, it'd be as long as Justice League, I think.
Yeah.
Which one, the first time or second time around?
Second.
There only is one Justice League.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The art is stunning. I love the art. No one can fault to the art by the sounds of it. The little details here and there, the big details here and there, it's all fantastic, and I love it. And I love the pace of the world building, the character building, and the fact that like there were characters everywhere here and there jumping in and out. I really like that. It just showed this really nice, fluid, big world, and I loved it. It's a 9 from me. Absolutely loved it, and I can see it's going to go far.
I got outscored.
Whoa.
Scott, can I ask, Scott, would you read this again?
Yeah.
Can I ask, did you go into this thinking you would like it because it won an Eisner?
No.
No? Okay.
I read everything the same, give it the same frame of mind.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not surprised by that. I think out of all of us when I was reading, because I think about you guys when I'm reading it as well. And I was thinking, who do I feel would probably have enjoyed this the most? And I did think Scott would probably, given like he's like a big, once and future fan and stuff like that. I did think that he would probably enjoy it more
so
than,
by the
than
sounds of
any
it,
of us.
Everything that you guys don't like, I like. Is that
I think so.
Did Amy?
All right, let's enough of us. People don't want to hear us waffling on. Let's just see what they're saying with their scores now, because we've got some rolling in, and hopefully I've caught them all down here. So we've got Carl who gives it a 6.5, and Adam gives it an 8 out of 10. We've got Tyler saying art is absolutely gorgeous, story is extremely dense, but I think it adds to the rereadability of the series. Can't wait to read more. 8.5 out of 10 for him. Adam is saying art 9 out of 10, story 6 out of 10, cats 11 out of 10, grand total 7 out of 10. Yeah. Friday night the video store, Simon gives it a 5.5. Off my shelf says it just didn't click for me. Loved the art for the most part, but the color palette was very muted. Never seen so much beige. The writing I found a little hard to get through. Another read, I think. No score though. If you've got a score off my shelves, let us know, and we'll get it included. Is it a 6?
Yeah, it said somewhere.
Yeah, later
excellent.
on he says 6.
Oh, right,
Lovely.
sorry. Yeah.
I've got that down there now. We have. Can somebody pronounce it for me again, please? Thank you. I'm so terrible at pronouncing words. Says, I love the art and enjoyed the detailed world building. The only thing that broke the spell was the contemporary swearing. I felt, I can't even say that word.
Anachronistic.
Thank you. See, I'm terrible, man. I can read, I swear. Like we're doing a comic book club. I can read, I promise you. Found it a bit juvenile. Overall, 7.5 out of 10. We'll read more though. Okay. We also have Tom saying this is probably the hardest read to date to score for me. Amazing artwork, heavy but good enough story so far. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 just for Kipper. Everyone loves Kipper. Daryl is saying, I have not read along this week, but I will be reading it sometime soon. A manga fantasy vibe and deep story sound right up my alley. There you go, Daryl. I think you may be one of the people that enjoy this then. Also, I'm just checking.
What the
hell?
No, because we're saying like we're kind of torn on that world building. Like if he's into that, I think he might be a big fan of that. You know, that's what I meant by that. I'm trying to do two things at once here, folks. Come on, man. We got Liam coming in with a 7.5 out of 10. So there we go. I think I've got all the scores. Have I missed any, Scott?
No. I
know you'll shout at me. All right, so that's all the scores in then there. I'll keep an eye on it while I do mine, and I'm going to be real brief about it. Like I like this. I thought this was beautiful. This, I think, Scott, to coin one of your phrases, like this wasn't written, it was crafted. I can't remember when you said that, but
I think I said that last week.
Yeah, I think this is true of this book. Like you can tell a lot of thought and love has gone into the world building and the characters and you know, all of the backdrops and the detail. Like everything is really thought on in this book, and that was a plus and a negative for me. Like it's really hard for me to score this one this week. I kind of agree with Tom because this is an absolutely wonderful book. It's everything that you want in a fantasy book. It's got this huge world, huge characters. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray complexity that goes on in it. But for me, I couldn't fall into it. I just could not completely give myself over to it. There were things that just kept pulling me back, and that goes back to what I was saying about maybe feeling a bit sick. So like, it wasn't just the artwork, it was the abundance of characters, the abundance of complex decisions and personalities that they had. It was all a bit too much for me. Like, and I know some people are going to really dig that, you know. So this, I think, is a personal failing of mine. This just comes down to preference for me. It's not like my score reflects that this is a good book or a bad book. I think this just isn't one for me. Like, I liked it, but I wouldn't read on for this. So for me, it'd be a 7. I'd put it out for me.
Okay. I wouldn't say that's a failing. That's your opinion. If it's not for you, it's not for you. So
yeah, I think 7's still up there. Like, I will not say this is a bad book. I think I will put it on the record for me. If you like fantasy and you like world building, you are going to love this. As I said there previously to the answer to the comments there, you will really dig this, man. It's just I struggle with fantasy as well. Maybe if this was a different environment, like it was space and there were aliens that had certain maybe I'd have digged it a little bit more, but I don't know. So it's a 7 for me. All right, so let's get to seeing what the overall scores were then. I can't see that we've had any more in. So everyone participating and watching along for this episode, we have got an average score of 7.1 from everybody that has scored this. And for us on the screen here, we have given it a 7.6.
Nice.
So yeah, we're all pretty close this week. So the question is, where does this fall on the Nerd Herd leaderboard then? With 7.6, let's have a look.
Come on, Maximum Carnage. Come on, Maximum Carnage.
That's above Dave.
There we go.
No way.
What position? What position's that in?
Get out of here.
So yeah, so this falls in 9th place then, folks. For those listening on a podcast, because obviously you can't see the leaderboard. So this falls in a 9th place, which bumps Dave and I Hate Fairyland down.
Get out of here, Monstress! You're drunk. Go home. That's not right. No. Recount. I demand a recount.
Top 10.
You're using the wrong map.
Hang on. Recount. Yeah, no, that's where it goes.
You know what I just thought as we went through the last comments? Someone said it's like anime, and that's where the Kipper thing, the cat thing that you hated, Shay, at the end of each episode. That's an anime thing. They do that at the end of anime. They have this is a really kippy, cartoony explanation of stuff that's happening.
I'm not a massive anime fan.
Comic Band Adam here, he's saying, I'll definitely keep reading. I'm hoping they settle into a groove with the writing and chill out on the exposition a bit. There we go.
I think they will in the next volume, because like I said, I feel like it falls into the saga problem where everyone says the next volumes are better than volume 1. So I think probably volume 2 and 3 of this will be better than volume 1.
I may read on, and who knows, volume 2 may turn up on the Nerd Herd here as well. You know, so
that's when that'll be the only reason why I'll read volume 2 if we have to, if we're made to for homework.
There you go. Put that on the back of the book. Quote from the money.
Only if I have to.
Only if I have to. All right, folks. That wraps us up for episode 28, Monstress Volume 1 from Image in 2016. So next week, before we go round and talk about what we've got coming up on channels and whatnot, let's let people know what we're reading next week. And next week, folks, we got an exciting one, I think. We are reading The Killing Joke from DC in 1988.
Don't watch the cartoon.
How do we feel about The Killing Joke? We looking forward to this one?
It's a cartoon.
We're looking forward to this one.
I haven't read it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to hearing what you think, Scott, more than anybody else, I think.
Yeah, me too.
This is going to be me talking about you asking me questions.
I'm not trying to affect the scoring, but we all know where you live. So.
Yeah, and already we've got off my shelves is saying, can I give it a 10 now? And you've got Tom going, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Next week, folks, scores don't count this week. All right then, folks, let's wrap it up then. We're already over the hour mark and people are busy, so we're going to get out of here. So let's go around and tell people what we got going on or anything. But before we do that, Carl, have you got anything you want to tell people, share with people? Have you got any Instagram or anything like that?
I haven't got anything public. I'm working with one of my friends' local band called In Fury. So everybody, check them out. They're an amazing metal band from Dudley.
Metal.
There we go.
That's much that's all I've got going on. Really.
So In Fury, yeah.
Yes, In Fury. They're on YouTube. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook.
Okay, feel free if you want to drop the link, mate. Just send that to me, and I'll get it in the chat there as well for you if you want. Phil, how about yourself?
I've actually got my arson gear this week. I have recorded 3 videos. 3.
What?
Wow.
Whoa.
Jesus.
And it's just now I need to get around to actually editing them and stick them out. So that's the next stage. But I've recorded 3 at something.
Yeah, you've got the material. That's the main
thing. Yeah. But yeah, it's been like 2 months since the last vlog, so I'll maybe get that out this week.
Yes.
All being well.
I miss my weekly dose of Phil. Where's it? I mean, apart from
but do you know what? The thing with Phil and the Nerdyverse is it's just too huge. It's a really bloated world. It's a really bloated universe.
It's a real world, okay? It's a big world.
I don't care how bloated Phil's Nerdyverse is. I will always follow that world.
Yeah, nice. Me too. Shane, how about yourself, mate? What's going on with Dawn of Comics?
I have a new series starting tomorrow called What's in the Box, where I'm going into my storage and I'm going to grab a random box and dig through it and see what's in it, because I don't know what I've got in my own storage.
Ooh,
nice.
It's been in there for years, so I'm just going to grab a box and see what I've got.
So is this like a way of you like reconnecting with your collection and what's in there?
I want to catalogue what I've got, so the quickest way is for me to just record myself going through the boxes. So the first one will be up tomorrow, and then I'll do it every week so that I get my arse in gear and sort out my storage.
Okay, cool. And we are this Saturday recording the next quiz as well, aren't we?
We are, yes. Oh, and you have one more day. The competition closes tomorrow for the viewer competition for Dawn of Comics. So 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Get your answers in.
There you go. Get them in, folks. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Shane, anything else from you?
No, that's me.
Scott, what's going on the shelf?
Philip and I are appearing on Team Nerd Herd Friday morning, 3 a.m.
Again?
Well,
the new
no, this is when it comes out. It comes out on Friday. I've recorded another mystery unboxing and valuing, and that'll be coming out this weekend. If you haven't catched it already, go back on my channel and look at where Amy judged all of my books of my poll list for that month. It was really fun to do, and we're going to be doing it once a month. And blah blah blah. Comic Airways.
Scott, can I ask? Can you please at one point do a video where you judge Amy's comics?
He doesn't have comics. It's just
comic books.
Comic books. Yeah, she freaks out and she remember calling them books. Books. That's me. I think. Yeah, just Comic Airwaves will be out in 10 days' time. We've got a special guest lined up. So do keep an eye out for that. It's Philip. No, it's we've got another guest and another interview coming up. So do keep an eye on that. The stream is there ready to set a reminder on it on my channel if you want to get locked in. But that's me.
Already done.
There you go then, folks. That's what's going on the shelf. As always, I'll end it with a couple of shout outs. As I say, if you like this channel, you may like some of these other channels. And Scott, you've got one of these shout outs in here as well, haven't you, today?
I do.
Stormcore Collectibles on YouTube. I've just put the link in there now. Do you want to tell us a bit about him?
Yeah, his name's Alistair. He does a lot of Funko Pop stuff, but he's going into comics now. We've been talking over the last couple of weeks, and he's a really cool guy. He's got like 200 odd subscribers, and check him out. He's learning new stuff about comics. He's new into it, so
I did notice he was in the chat earlier as well. So if he watches this in the replay or something, howdy to you. We've put the link in there for you so people can find you. The next link I want to drop is a link for our very own Beth. There's a link to Beth's channel. Beth has done her first vlog, the adventure for the computer desk. So yeah, there you go. Go check out Beth and hit the thumbs up and do the subscription thing that everybody does on YouTube. And the last one I want to give a shout out to is Phil. I think this is over your way. Coffee and Heroes.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yes. Drop the link for those guys as well. You want to tell us a bit about them?
They are the greatest comic book store in the island of Ireland and possibly the whole of the UK. There's nobody better. Alan and Vicky are the owners and whatever, and they're fantastic. So yeah, check them out. Awesome.
There we go, folks.
Cool.
Those are the links for today. That is the end of episode 28. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you all for participating and joining us. And on that note, we're going to do what we always do. And what do we always do, Scott?
Get your waves out.